Hi guys, thank you all for coming. Today I'm going to be talking about a 30-day expedition that I did this summer with the program NOLS. So NOLS stands for National Outdoor Leadership School, and pretty much you just learn how to be a leader. So one of the skills that they taught me is tolerating diversity and adversity in the face of uncertainty. So in the layman terms, that just means dealing with weird people. So outdoorsy people are really weird. And I can say that because I'm pretty outdoorsy. They would rather sleep on rocks than sleep on beds. They like to go long periods of time without showering or using deodorant or looking in mirrors. They love comparing their sandal tans to see at the end of the summer who has the darkest sandal tan. They're thrilled to pee outside. They love covering themselves in mud and running around like a tiger. Now, those ones might just be me, but outdoorsy people are pretty weird in general. What's weirder still is when you get a bunch of indoorsy people, you put them in a tent with outdoorsy people. So that's what happened with me and my roommate, or my tent mate, this summer for 30 days. So we were complete opposite people, and we just found each other hilarious because we could not relate to each other. So near the end of the trip, we started writing songs and poems about each other. So I'm going to start off with a poem that she wrote about me. Alright. She falls asleep as she steamrolls me. So steamrolling, let me jump in really quick. Is when you pull up your sleeping bag and you roll around onto the other people who are also in sleeping bags. Alright. She falls asleep as she steamrolls me. She's blind, can't see. She farts, also pees. She makes me wheeze. I think I have asthma. Her hair is statica. Cheeks like a crab does. She looks for her glasses. Blind like my cat was. Tune it outside. Fantastic. So that was one of the poems or songs that she wrote about me. And as you can see, she is a beautiful writer and captured my essence perfectly. With the cheeks like a crab and staticky hair. She's also just a character, and we were very different people. So her name was Sunshine. And no, she is not my sunshine. And she was not a ray of sunshine. In fact, she was very opposite, exactly what you'd expect from someone named Sunshine. So all Sunshines have like a backstory. They were kicked out of school. They go to boarding school then. They dream to be singer-songwriters. They want to progress their career, but the only way is to turn to stripping. All parents of Sunshines are the same too. They just want their little girl back. So they send them on trips like NOLS or Outward Bound or any other outdoors trip, hoping they'll come back to God and then come back to the family. So that was sort of similar to Sunshine, except obviously she wasn't a stripper. She was 16, I was 18. Stripping is not realistic. She was a porn star. Immature porn star. For real.
That is child pornography.
So that was Sunshine's story. And we were very much opposites. I pride myself on being pretty friendly. I like to smile and just be goofy and like to welcome everyone. Whereas she would walk around scowling. I like to be helpful. I would cook every meal, or at least do the dishes afterward. She would eat her ramen alone, and then walk up to me afterward and give me her plate and ask, will you clean this for me? I just wanted to be friends with her, despite all of that though. Really break down those barriers. And she, meanwhile, was building a massive wall in between our two beds, made out of bags and clothes and everything. So I didn't really care much for looks. We were in the outdoors. I would just wear my baggy clothing. My hair was short. She had this long black hair with dyed pink tips at the end. And that was only for the first few days, because she would switch it up every other day. in the backcountry. So,
Oh my god.
so that meant like I would go out and play frisbee for half an hour or something, and I would come back. She didn't have the pink hair anymore. It would be dyed red, white, and blue. Very patriotic. And I don't know how she did it. We were in the backcountry. So I think my guess is that while we were all comparing our choco tans, she was out in the woods actually being the supreme outdoorsy person and crushing up berries and putting them in her hair. The longest I ever saw her with one hairstyle was when she was trying to get dreads in the backcountry. So every morning she would roll her hair, and every night she would do the same, trying to get dreads. And she did that for about a week, and that was all she could talk about. But then after that week, one day she just brushed it all out and never told us why. She just quit it. But then after that, she got really obsessed with my hair, my short hair, and she was like, "You should dye your hair. We should dye your hair in the backcountry." So I was down, and we were gonna do it. And eventually, the whole team, so all 7 girls along with me and the 4 instructors, all were gonna dye our hair. And halfway through the trip, we had a supply run. We had to get more food and supplies. So we went into town, and while we were buying all of that stuff, she bought a ton of Kool-Aid to dye our hairs with. One day later, fast forward, we're all back in the kitchen in the woods, and everyone has their bowls with their ponytails stuck in their Kool-Aid bowls. I, meanwhile, with my short hair, was hunched over in a bowl for about 40 minutes. And this is a picture from that day.
That's where you
Me on
just
the
pour the
ground.
bowl on your head.
Beautiful. Oh, wait. So which one's Sunshine?
Sunshine is that one right there, dyeing her bangs. So, the worst part was that for me it did not work. My hair did not dye. The only thing that dyed were my hands. So, eventually the two of us did bond, and we had weird inside jokes between the two of us. We laughed a lot, and our favorite story to tell everyone else was when the night that I elbow slammed her in the middle of the night. So that happened because I think part of the reason we became friends was that I accepted our relationship as me being a cat. So what that means is the night that I elbow slammed her, we were both a little bit touch-starved, so we were going to snuggle. But obviously, there's that massive wall in between the two of us. So I crawled down like a cat to the bottom of the tent where the wall was less big, and I curled up by her feet and fell asleep. But then in the middle of the night, I woke up. I was extremely disoriented. I had my sleeping bag all the way pulled up. I was snug as a slug, but I had no idea where I was. So I felt around. I didn't know where Sunshine was. Couldn't feel her, but I did find the massive wall. So I was like, okay, I know I fell asleep on her side. I need to get over this wall. And I was a little bit delirious. I was sleepwalking just a bit. So I was like, this is my mission in life. I have to get over this wall. This is a massive journey. So I was on my knees in my sleeping bag, preparing for this jump. It was going to be a big jump. And I finally did it. And elbow slam right on top of Sunshine.
No.
I have no idea what happened in that night still, how I got all disoriented, but she whacked me on the nose. I went back, went back to my side of the tent and fell asleep. But that was one of the stories that we would laugh a lot about, joke about. At least I hope she was joking. Like, the next night, we were hanging out. That was the night that we wrote all of the poems. And she started off, she sat, we were just talking, hanging out, and then she got out her notebook and started writing. I was like, what are you writing? And she was writing a poem about me. So she was like, hold up, let me write it all first. So she started writing, and then I finally looked over, and I saw the first line, I murder you, was the first line. Because I murder you, the play falls to two. Abby laughs, she toots. So she was really obsessed with me farting. And first of all, I would say, I didn't fart that much. Second, I would say, we were eating beans every night. It's bound to happen. But third, actually, I think that poem shows a lot of growth in our relationship, because that was about 25 days into our 30-day long trip. And I was feeling comfortable enough to fart in front of her, and she was feeling comfortable enough to be her unfiltered self, which meant death threats to me. But it's all fun and games. And my response to that was a song that I wrote about her, and that's what I'm going to finish off with. So give it some love after I say it. It starts, Sunshine, she's out of her mind. Batshit crazy, but one of a kind. 8 hairstyles in the span of a week. Never too shy to point out my reek. In our tents, she's built up a wall. Just like Trump, but with much bigger balls. Gonna steamroll her to get her awake. She won't eat the cinnamon rolls I bake. Waterboards me in a bowl of Kool-Aid. The dye didn't work, what a cruel trick she played. Alright, that's all I have. Thank you guys.